Boys and girls, guess what I just happened to have here? Yeah, you guessed it correctly. It's my dream car, but unfortunately, it's not mine. 1929 Ford Model A. Isn't it a beauty? So what we're about to do to this car is going to be a crime, and I don't think I'll ever be able to sleep well again. We are going to convert this to a rat rod. I don't know if I'll be able to do it, and if I do, I'll be crying while I do it. Just look at this. It's a beauty. It's just, I love this car. Here I'll show you why. It's one of the simplest cars, if not the simplest car ever built. Here's the engine. Fuel tank is right here on the top, just this top part. Gasoline is fed through gravity fed through here. It's the carburetor, so there's no fuel pump. Spark plugs are just connected by brass sheet. Very simple, no spark plug cables. There's the ignition coil. Everything's very heavy duty. Greasable joint or bearing on the fan blades. Chain goes inside here. Very easy to change if you ever have to. It's just beautiful. Nice little engine, economic. And they even put these little lights here if you ever needed to do any engine work or some sort of repair on the engine, which is the only place you would ever fiddle around with. You would just turn this light bulb around. Yeah, it's kind of seized, and it would light up the engine bay. I just love how it closes. Look at the size of these headlights. It's gonna break my heart chopping the windows on this and the doors, chopping the roof off. It truly is gonna break my heart. See, this one sort of turns a bit more. So there's just unimaginable amounts of space around it. This car is nearly 100 years old. As of now, it's 92 years old. The wipers, vacuum wipers. You could open the windshield if you wanted to, as you can see. I really love this. Brass handles for the door. So it looks like at some point somebody did a really shitteration, that's what I call it. Shitty restoration. They just put a bunch of wood everywhere. The wood is not too bad quality, but it's on the floor they literally just had a 2x4, and I'll show you that in a second. Sunroof is gone. I don't know if this car would have originally come with a sunroof. I'm not sure, but this frame, a little tiny differential. Transmission. I think that everything here is cast iron. I don't think there's any aluminum. That plate there comes off, as you can see. Clutch pedal. The brakes are mechanical, by the way. They're not hydraulic. So it's literally this push rod here that pushes on the brakes. The hand brakes are turned by this pipe here, which is turned by this lever. Speedometer, amp meter. Looks a little bit worse now than when I got it, but I literally sat inside the car and it's just, what an experience. Doesn't look like much of a car now, but it will, well, actually it won't. It'll only get worse at this point, from this point on. So it looks like somebody was trying to wire some headlights here. Would you really have the courage, tell me, to get the grinder, start chopping this off? Yeah, I don't know if I will, for sure. Somebody just put a lot of body filler here. See that? Look at how thick that is. Fortunately, it only goes up to here, so I'm able to repair this. Here are the seats. They're not original. Somebody made them, as you can see. They really did an exceptional shit of a job. Pardon my language. Wheels, and believe it or not, the brakes still work fine. As you can see, it's a pretty thick rod that goes on them. There's no brake lines, none of that. So I'd actually go as far as to say that this car, at least in terms of brakes, is much safer than any modern car. I've seen modern cars run out of brake fluid because of the brake lines. They rot out, especially here where we have really cold, salty winters. Yeah, I did say that right. Lots of salt on the roads. I've seen a few people run out of brakes because the brake lines were just completely corroded, and they will corrode, trust me, in a very short period of time. Steering shaft is right here. You have access to everything, to every single thing. There's nothing that's difficult at all in this car. Nothing. Not one single thing. This here seems to turn something which I'm not exactly sure. I think that's maybe for the exhaust. Suspension is pristine. As you can see, here's the brake brake shaft there. It's a big, thick bar for the suspension here, and the springs go this way. So there's literally just two springs on the whole car. Whereas later on they switched to two springs on each side for a total of 4. So it's not a high-speed car. It's not made for high speed. If you wanted that, you would have bought the Ford V8, which is the car that the famous Bonnie and Clyde used. Ford V8. Basically the fast version of this car here, Model A. Spoke wheels. I would possibly change to wider wheels, but that certainly wouldn't hurt. Everything, as you can see, is greasable, which is just amazing. The linkages for the springs, they all have grease fittings on them. Rather than just bushings, like rubber bushings. This is a real engineering masterpiece. This here. See, nowadays, even in some cars, they'll look at an engine that's like a V12, and it's extremely complex and full of garbage, and they'll call that an engineering masterpiece. I call that an engineering masterpiece of shit. It's real. It's simplicity that's true engineer's obsession. Something else I could show you guys. Switch this to. So this here goes on to the. Well, that's the accelerator, isn't it? Yes, it is. This is the accelerator. It goes from here to there to the other side. All mechanical. It breaks my heart, like I said. It's gonna tear my heart to pieces. Destroying this car. Rat rod. Some people are. I don't understand why anybody would want to do that. But, well, I need some money. Once I get some money, maybe I can save myself one of these. So, here's something really interesting that I found as well. This thing is, like I said, 92 years old. Almost a century old. And it's intact. It's like it was made yesterday. Threads, everything. So they made it out of brass. It's just amazing. It's just beautiful. Contemplating this car is just beautiful. Headlights are gigantic. You turn these on, it's like daytime. It's like you're in a soccer stadium. It's just amazing. So the car came with a few extra, an extra set of rims. It's like some extra brake parts, old brake pads probably. Lots of garbage. Sort of massive plug. I don't know what that is. Flip this over. I don't want any ring mark. Look in there. Some extra pedal there. Lots of brake pads. This is probably the front bumper. That's the same as the rear bumper, but front is missing a bumper. But I doubt the owner will keep it. He obviously doesn't want the rims. He's gonna end up putting a big V6 or V8 engine. Probably not a V8. Very highly unlikely. But so here's some other cool parts. Some distributor. For which car? This car. Wow, there's like 4 or 5 distributors. Horn, 2 extra sets of intake and exhaust manifolds. Already took the glass out. An extra transmission with bell housing. I like how the bell housing bolts through the transmission through the inside. That's interesting. No exposed threads or bolt heads. Transmission looks nice. It's made at an angle so that all the oil drips out. It's like just one mount for the whole assembly. It's very small. It's a very little transmission. Still extremely heavy though. It's a very big shaft for a little transmission such as this. It's tiny. Look at that. But it wasn't a heavy car. What else is there to say? Just hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am. So yeah, we're doing away with the fenders. Doing away with this thing that I love. You can step on here. Like, there's just so much space. Look at this. You can sit on here. I actually was sleeping on the fender there. It's at a pretty good angle. I wonder if I can show you guys. And probably in the background put some like really wide tires. Gotta be really short, of course. She wants the car at the bottom to almost touch the floor. I wonder if I can try to show myself sleeping here. I'm crying. Oh my god, I am crying. I'm crying already. Just every day I come here and I say good morning, gal. Pet her and I stroke her and say nice things to her. I think I'm forgetting something. Yeah, we're gonna probably cut this off too. Like I said, chopping the roof down. I don't know if the seats, I think the seats might be moved down as well. Like I said, he wants it really low and the window's really narrow. Me, I just want to get it back to original, just like it came out of the factory. Canadian tires. Here's the horn. I think I showed you guys all the garbage that came out of it. I'm just hoping that when I have the money and resources to buy this car, buy a car like this, that they're still around and not extremely expensive and rare. I still feel like, oh yeah, there's one thing that I forgot. Which is, how could I forget? So this hole here, you'd put the hand crank, you'd put a crank in here to start it by hand. You'd hand crank it. But it wasn't mandatory. It would actually have a starter motor. There's the starter motor there. So you could start it by key, or I think rather by this lever here. Or you could start it by hand if you wanted to or had to. And here's the pipe for the radiator, and it conveniently comes with a little brass valve here, so you can drain the coolant if you had to. Spark plugs are kind of interesting. They're really big. As you can see, it'll take. If you ever had to change this flathead, it would probably take you under 10 minutes to change it. Change a gasket. There's a huge crack there for some reason. Not a big deal. Not at all. That can just be easily welded or just replaced. It's nice how they cast the engine as well. It's just very simple casting. Here's where you put the engine oil. That's the distributor actually there. So I bet you that those distributors that are in the box are for that here. They're connected to this here. 80 coil, and this lever here is connected to the see the lever here from the distributor is connected to this shaft here, which is connected to this part on the steering here, steering wheel. And you'd actually adjust the timing in order to facilitate starting the car. Then once the car started up, you change the timing again. So it's variable timing. Conveniently, you can adjust your car, make it lean or make it rich, and change the timing by simply moving a lever. How convenient is that? Oops, sorry, stepped on something. So that other lever here, so that's where you just press the starter there. You put your foot on it, you press on it. Simple as that. Or I guess this is probably an aftermarket, or you could just turn it with the key. Or actually, maybe that's for the ignition. Yeah, that wouldn't activate the starter. My bad. There's a cute speedometer there and tachometer as well, it seems. Alright. It's not alright. I'm dying here. Can't believe that anybody would want to rust or chop this card or do anything to change it. Rat rod. That's breaks my heart.